want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it.
This afternoon, the Secretary General and Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, will witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding on a strategic partnership between the UN and the World Economic Forum, which outlines areas of cooperation to deepen engagement between the two institutions and to jointly accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda.
Meantime, the critics argue that Gensler is doing regulation by enforcement.
Which he absolutely
He's actually
is.
suing the daylights out of the crypto business.
And very, very capriciously, right? He is suing certain companies for certain acts, claiming that they were doing things with securities, but leaving aside whole other parts of different ecosystems, right? We're not trying to regulate swords in World of Warcraft, but you could argue they fail all the same tests he's arguing for.
Are tokens securities or commodities?
Well, the point is nobody knows, and somebody has to create a comprehensive
test.
rule.
If you're getting
the Howey test is not.
Why not?
Because it's not designed for this ecosystem. I'm with Hester Peirce on this at the SEC. She sort of has this framework with what we should be focused on is capital raising. That's what the SEC should be worried about. If you're raising capital by issuing tokens to then go effect a purpose,
that's a security.
That's a security. We can talk about that. That's not really what the Howey rule is, and that's not really what most of these enforcement actions are about.
A lot of this would be securities then.
It would be, but the point is we need legislation. This isn't going to get solved by the stroke of a pen at the SEC's desk. We need Congress to work. They already are on stable coins. I think that's where we're going to start breaking this dam open. Hopefully this year we'll actually get some action on that.
They're starting on stable coin. What's the distinction here that you want to make?
So stable coins are basically money market funds that you use for payment on crypto rails. They're like USDC is a big common one. Some of them recently broke the peg, as it were, when we had a little mini banking crisis you might have remembered from a few weeks ago. A good set of legislation is on the table to basically bring them under the umbrella, actually have them being regulated by the Fed, because effectively they're going to be money market instruments. I'm a fan of that. I'm hoping we see some action and actually get some votes on it.
Another big issue out there is going to be crypto. And their problem here, there's still no clear understanding of whether crypto tokens are securities or whether they're currencies, and still no Bitcoin ETF. Grayscale, of course, is suing them.
Right.
Our friends over there. Handicap this. Talk about the Grayscale suit.
So
they're suing them, arguing you can't have a futures product and not have a spot product. It's illogical, makes no sense. What are the chances Grayscale could win?
I think the chances are more than 50-50 that they could win this lawsuit. However, I don't think that means that all of a sudden we get a Bitcoin ETF. I think there's actually a higher likelihood it means that they shut down some of the futures-based products. Not a particularly popular opinion, but there's no way to force a regulator to approve a product. That you can't actually mandate a regulator to take an action. You can slap their hand about having failed to take certain actions or having taken actions you disagree with, but the way they fix that problem is still up to the SEC. I suspect that even if Grayscale wins, Gensler is going to back even further away from crypto and not necessarily approve a spot Bitcoin ETF, but put some constraints around the futures-based products while we wait for maybe someday comprehensive crypto regulation and legislation in this country.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have Gary Gensler giving the illusion that he's stepping up the enforcement on crypto. It's not by chance that we get the information on Bitrue and then he's meeting with Congress the next day. Remember, guys, this is all planned. It's all a movie. Guys, they had over 10 years to regulate crypto. Jay Clayton could have regulated crypto. But Gary Gensler is there to kick the regulation can down the road. Now they're ready to bring it because we know the fourth industrial revolution is ready to get underway. We have ISO. We have FedNow. We know SWIFT is integrating crypto also. Remember, the NWO is going to pick the winners and losers. We saw this during big tech. The NWO uses the same playbook. And guys, what did I tell you at the beginning of last year? That the debt ceiling was going to be the big topic. It was going to be the big distraction. And now we're seeing it. And we know they're playing the Hegelian dialectic. We know we can no longer spend the same way we've done in the past. The reason why, because majority of these countries are going to be getting off the dollar, moving over to their own stable coin or CBDC. And once the debt ceiling is passed, we know liquidity is going to start shrinking at a faster pace, which is going to cause these smaller banks to fall, and you're going to have a big consolidation in the banking sector. And guys, we know that's going to hit small businesses, and then of course it's going to hit employees. We know the NWO caused the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. We know the C word allowed them to print all this money, allow people to sit at home so they could run a test on how people will react with sitting at home getting free money. And by printing all that money, that caused inflation. Now they're raising rates on the inflation that they caused, which is destroying the market. And by destroying the market, they're going to put all these people out of work, but they have a solution. The robots, algorithms, and drones taking the economy over, paying each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. Get that free programmable money airdrop to them. They're told what, where, and when and how to buy, and they have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And with Elon Musk building Skynet, guys, we know we're going through hyper deflation. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
This is one of those interesting moments where we're having a discussion about the issue and the players, and we just happen to have House Speaker McCarthy here.
Welcome. Where did you come from?
Just walking on the floor. I thought I'd stop by.
Welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
What is your message upstairs? What was your message? And how do you think markets should be responding to it right now?
Well, look, 75 days ago, February 1st, I sat down with this president. And I sat down to him and I said, let's work together to be able to deal with the debt ceiling and our economy at the same time. It's the same thing that we've done all in the past, as you've mentioned. And for 75 days, he's ignored us. I want to find a responsible, sensible way to do this. My message upstairs is if the president won't pay attention to this, if he doesn't believe that he can find $1 in savings, Republicans in the next couple weeks will act and send a debt ceiling increase that will limit, save, and grow, that will help us on economics growth in this country, will cap spending in the future, will pull back, claw back the money we appropriated for COVID but had sat dormant for 2 years. If it was appropriated to help you during COVID and you haven't spent it, it shouldn't be spent afterwards. So find the ways we can save the taxpayer money, find a way that we can grow this economy to become less dependent upon China, curve our spending in the future so we can curve inflation to help every family. And I think that's sensible and responsible. And we'd move the debt ceiling into the next year. If the president doesn't want to take action, we'll send this over to the Senate.
But there's an appropriations committee and a budget for all of this. The fiscal year ends in the end of September. Why not deal with spending cuts and negotiate with the president there? Why negotiate over the debt ceiling, which is much more dangerous?
It's not dangerous at all, especially when you sit down on February 1st. And remember, the budget is different than a debt ceiling. A budget resolution is not like in a state capitol. The budget never even goes to the president. So for the president to say do a budget, that makes no sense. What you want to do is sit down with a debt ceiling, just as America has done. Watch. When President Biden was a senator, 4 times he voted to increase the debt ceiling only if it included fiscal changes. The times he voted against the debt ceiling is because he said there wasn't enough fiscal economic change. And think about it. A debt ceiling is like giving your child a credit card, and they charge the limit all the way up. Would you just raise the limit? No. You would sit down.
Well, if it meant playing with America's standing and full faith and credit of U.S. government debt, I feel like you can deal with the spending in other ways, which is totally legitimate.
So if you just raise the debt ceiling, do you think $31 trillion of debt? The CBO has come out in the next 10 years. Do you know we'll pay 10.5?
You did it 3 times in the Trump administration.
As we did economic changes. We never raised the debt ceiling by itself.
But the tax cuts, that was like $2 trillion deficit.
And you know how much we're bringing in revenue? On average, in the 50-year average in America, you bring 17% of GDP. Today, we're bringing 20. That's the only 2 other times in modern history in America have you ever brought 20% of GDP.
Gathering, and from your remarks, business leaders are becoming increasingly focused on the debt ceiling. And it's not just talk, you're seeing it in the markets as well. And if we look at some financial instruments that are commonly used to insure against a government default, the prices of those instruments are increasing, and to some degree, the most commonly used instruments are at their highest levels in over a decade. So since the last time we really faced this, this challenge. In your party's negotiations, and to the extent you have visibility into the administration's plans, are you monitoring market conditions as you head into these negotiations?
Look, markets go up and down. Again, markets are reacting to work we've done, so I shouldn't monitor you. I should monitor what we're doing, and that's exactly what I do. The reason why the markets are going up, because the president's ignored us for 75 days. Look, I went to see the president February 1st. I sat with him. This is a guy who's a former senator who voted 4 times to raise the debt limit when they put something attached to it. The only times he voted against the debt limit, he said when they didn't do something enough to change the behavior. In 2011, it was his group that was named. It was his argument to say you can't argue not to negotiate together. A whole government's designed to find compromise. When I walked with him and sat with him, I said, look, we could negotiate, and there's parameters. Let me be very clear. There's 2 things I will not do. I will not raise taxes, and I will not pass a clean debt ceiling. It just won't pass. So why don't we sit together and find ways to put us on a better path? Why don't we spend less than we spent the year before? If we just go back 7 months to 2022, is that really going to break us to October spending? Then think for a moment. The pandemic is over. You have billions of dollars that was appropriated that was not used, that lay dormant for 2 years. Did you spend it now or bring it back and have savings? If you cap the future spending, but you allow for growth, you make elected officials actually make a decision on what's wasteful and what's not. They'll prioritize the things we find important. And then what about making our country grow again? It's very hard to build something in America, is it not? So in our bill, H.R. 1, we create permitting reform, cutting red tape. So it doesn't matter what form of energy you love. Maybe you just love wind and solar. You still can't build it. What if you want to build the highway or the bridges? You wait on average 7 years. It costs too much. How are we going to compete with other countries? I think if we attach that to a debt ceiling, growing our economy, that's going to save us money in the long run. So let's make it that. I know there's a place we can come to an agreement. It's just hard when people think that there's not $1 that you can cut out of government today. No one believes that.
Welcome back. Twitter CEO Elon Musk now launching a new artificial intelligence company called X.A.I. This, as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is laying the groundwork for Congress to regulate AI technology.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
It's Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.